Bonier, political strategist and CEO of TargetSmart. Thank you both for being here. I want to play a little bit of this press conference from Herschel Walker's latest accuser. Let's take a listen.
I am coming forward now because I saw Herschel deny the allegations by another woman who claimed that he had paid for her abortion. And particularly, I saw him state that the woman's claims were not true because he never signed any cards using the letter H. I knew that was not true because he had often signed letters to me using H. I am a registered independent, and I voted for Donald Trump in both elections. I do not believe that Herschel is morally fit to be a U.S. senator.
I want to go to you first, Rachel, because you have the disadvantage. You're not here with us in studio. How do you think that allegation winds up playing in the Georgia race?
I think this is one of the most compelling arguments you can make in the electoral situations that Georgia Democrats find themselves in, and also in other tough areas like Texas. And that is to try to tell Republicans who have spent 30, 40 years of their lives convinced that this is a moral red line for them, that that is indeed a red line, and that other Republicans are not willing to cross it, because we know for sure that this man paid for at least one abortion, right? So I do think that that's a compelling argument to make. I think they also need to be arguing to women in these states that there's a secret ballot that they can use to protect their reproductive freedom too. And with those two compelling arguments as the close, I think that we have a chance to really push it to take it to the GOP in those states. So
let me come to you, Tom, because one of the things that we're seeing is people are voting like crazy. I mean, we're talking about already like 12 million some odd votes have already, or 1 million votes in Georgia have already been cast. This is in the state of Georgia. Every demographic is coming out, but you're seeing black voters over age 50 coming out in the biggest numbers. Altogether, more than 12 million votes have already been cast nationwide, 633,000 plus votes in Pennsylvania. 56% of those are women. You're talking about in Georgia, Fulton County, just mowing every other county down. So you're seeing on the ground a lot of voting, and a lot of voting by women. Your numbers have consistently shown that abortion is a driving force. Is that, in your mind, still the case?
Absolutely. The theory going into this election was that Democrats wouldn't be fired up. This was going to be a typical midterm election where the party in power, their voters would stay home. And it was kind of looking like that was going to be the case until the Dobbs decision.
Right.
We've talked about the surge in voter registration, and then there was a question. Well, it's great that women are registering to vote, but are they going to turn out?
Yeah.
This early vote day, and like you said, I mean, almost 1 million votes in Georgia, despite the governor's voter suppression bill, still getting that high turnout. And big gender gaps, like you said, driven by women, especially African-American women in Georgia. You're seeing the same thing in Pennsylvania. We're looking at these first-time voters, people who have not voted in any election before. Those are where you're seeing the biggest gender gaps.
Yeah.
So it's clearly showing that the issue is motivating women to come out.
And I will note for people who say, oh, the Georgia turnout means that there's no voter suppression. And I can tell you this just from having worked in campaigns, particularly black voters turn out early more when there's more voter suppression because they're nervous that they want to have a second shot if their vote gets rejected. If they show up and their names have been taken off the rolls, they want to be able to come back. And so people vote early because there's more voter suppression, and also younger people because of more convenience. So there are lots of reasons why people vote. It doesn't mean anything. That law is still heinous. I want to play for you, Tom, real quick. We're just in Texas, and Rachel did mention Texas. Here's when I did a little sweep of the crowd and asked people what's the most important issue to them. And let's listen to what they said.
Reproductive rights, 100%.
Climate change.
Voters' rights.
Abortion.
Ooh.
Body autonomy. Women's rights.
Women's rights. The economy.
Our democracy.
Okay.
Voting. Women's rights.
Okay.
Voting.
Okay.
Women's reproductive rights.
Democracy.
All right.
Reproductive rights.
I have a wife and daughter. Abortion.
And I'm telling you, that was my whole trip there. Everywhere I went, I tried to ask people, what do you care about? consistently abortion, abortion. Here, one we haven't heard a lot about, well, climate change, which we haven't heard about in any of the polls, and people were really passionate about the right to vote and democracy. The things that we talk, it's why we talk about this a lot on the show, because people talk to me about it. It's what people are worried about. Why do you suppose that the polling that we're seeing and the polling averages aren't reflecting that, when that is what people are hearing and saying on the ground?
There are a lot of issues with polling at this point. I think we're all well aware of that. We've seen the track record. When you ask someone if the economy is important to them, they're always going to say yes, right? When you look at the rank ordering, we do a lot of focus groups. We're doing a lot of focus groups now. I tell you, whether it's Democratic women, swing women, even with Republican groups, abortion, choice, and those issues you talked about, democracy, these are the issues that are coming up, not just coming up in the groups, they're the first thing mentioned.
Yeah, and Rachel, let me play for you. This is a little bit wild, though. This is Charlie Crist. Charlie Crist had a little bit of a debate back and forth with Ron DeSantis on abortion. Take a listen.
We just found out recently about a case of a middle school girl near Jacksonville who was a victim of incest, became impregnated. Because of the bill you signed, Governor, she had to go 2 to 3 states in order to take care of this issue. That's not compassionate leadership. That's not doing the right thing. That's not even having a heart.
Charlie Crist has not only supported abortion up until the moment of birth, he even voted against the Infant Born Alive Act, which would have had medical care for an infant that survives an abortion attempt and is born alive.
Ron, again, that's not true, and you know it.
Okay, there's no such thing as people aborting babies that are already born. That is stupid, and people keep saying it. But this is the fear that I hear people reflecting to me in real life, not in a poll. That if, God forbid, you have an ectopic pregnancy, if, God forbid, a child is raped. In the state of Florida, if a child is raped or a woman is raped, they're out of luck. There is no exception for incest or rape. And so I think people living in states that already are under Gilead, which is what a woman even said to me in Texas. She felt, this woman was almost crying, saying she feels like she lives in Gilead in Texas. I feel like this issue is so personal and emotional. There's no way to poll it. It's just there.
It's exactly right. And also, number one, we are seeing a row effect in the polling. What people need to understand, and Tom alluded to this, we started this cycle 2 years after, right after Biden won, understanding we'd be the out party, and that probably what we'd be looking at is a significant loss in both chambers and across these governorships and statewide offices. Instead, what we saw after Roe was the generic ballot first invert and now equalized, putting us at parity on that. And then also this enthusiasm gap from what you're referring to, Joy, and you know it's my buzzword. Negative partisanship, right? Yeah. When you are, it's not, if people think, oh, it's simple, like it's hate. I just hate Republicans because I hate them. No, I hate them because they want to tell me that I have to carry a dead fetus inside my body, right? That is fear. That is emotion. That is threat, right? And we're seeing that everywhere. The hard data also suggests that we should anticipate some odd outcomes coming into election night. So what I would tell people is we are in a fantastic place in terms of polling, that Fetterman's up, that Ohio looks competitive. We should be looking at a completely different landscape, and that is the Roe effect right there.
Women are fighting for their lives. I mean, I've never lived in a time in my life when you felt it's so extant that we're fighting for our literal liberty, and people are saying, you really just care about the price of bread. Really quick, Tom Bonier, I do want to ask you about Fetterman, because there is sort of a Rorschach test. There was a piece, I don't have time to read pieces of it. It is a Rorschach test. There are a lot of people who have AFib. There are a lot of people who suffered strokes. A lot of great senators, members of the Congress, people who are still in the Senate have suffered strokes. What do you think happens there? Because all I can remember from that debate is the sound clip we played about abortion. But the right is attempting to use Fetterman speaking slowly, I mean, as if Herschel Walker don't exist. He even have a stroke. I won't. That's me. I'm the mean one who said that. What do you make of this and the health effect of Fetterman?
Well, it was clear from the beginning of the debate that Oz didn't want to talk about choice. He was trying to change it. Let's talk about crime. Let's talk about the economy. There was that one question in the middle of the debate, and he said what he believed. He told honest truth. And as you said, he wants to punt that issue to a group that, you know, nationally, as you said, 2/3 of state legislators are men. Most of them are older white men. Yeah. That's not going to play well. Pennsylvania had